In any given Pokemon battle, one's choices for a turn are usually to attack or to switch. However, with switch moves, players can do both at the same time. This is, of course, an amazing attribute to have in a move, and it's no surprise that they've had a significant impact on the competitive scene. So today we're going over how switch moves have affected singles. Now before we start the video, we got a quick prologue. While the 4th generation introduced U-turn, which popularized the concept of switch moves, U-turn wasn't technically the first switch move. That distinction goes to Baton Pass, which was introduced in Generation 2, and was popular both there and in Generation 3. However, Baton Pass wasn't widely used as an offensive tool. Pokemon like Celebi used it to pass boost instead. Now that being said, inspired by the popularity of switch moves in the later generations, players of Gen 3 made use of Zapdos and Jolteon sets that, instead of dedicating themselves purely to passing boosts, used Baton Pass as an offensive momentum-grabbing switch scouting move a la U-turn. This actually happens quite a bit. Strategies in later generations influencing new strategies in older generations that continue to be played. Now let's get into U-turn itself. Unlike Baton Pass, U-turn actually did damage, and the applications of such moves were incredible. In addition to scouting the opponent's switch, it actually chipped the opponent too. Plus, it not only chipped the opponent, but allowed for a free switch to a teammate that would likely force that Pokemon out again. This was incredible for setting up scenarios to unleash massive damage and systematically break down the opponent's defenses, especially in conjunction with the omnipresent Stealth Rock. U-turn was incredibly spammable, as it was a bug-type move, meaning it had no immunities and resisting it wasn't enough. Even if Heatran switched in and took 1% from a U-turn, it was still getting scouted risklessly. Plus, U-turn being a bug-type move with a respectable 70 base power meant it wasn't just dinking the opposition. It was an offensive weapon in and of itself, as several top-tier Pokemon were weak to bug, notably Tyranitar, Latias, Starmie, Celebi, and Shaman. This made for win-win scenarios for the U-turn user, and lose-lose scenarios for the Pokemon staring down the U-turn user. Either the U-turn weak Pokemon would stay in and take significant super effective damage, or it would switch out and allow the U-turn user to scout their switch and freely bring in another Pokemon to continue exerting offensive pressure. It helped that most users of U-turn had solid attack stats. The most popular were Flygon, Infernape, Jirachi, Azelf, and Scizor. Scizor was the poster Pokemon for U-turn, as it was a partial bug type and thus received stab on it, meaning it hit incredibly hard with this amazing move. U-turn also went hand in hand with Choice Band, as there's no better move to lock yourself into until you switch out than the one that makes you switch out anyway, and you get a power boost on that hit. It was absolutely perfect. Choice Scarf Pokemon were great U-turners as well, since they scared out a ton of Pokemon with their higher speed and were able to maintain momentum for their teammates. However, it wasn't just physical attacking monsters that made use of U-turn. Even Pokemon like Zapdos, Gliscor, Celebi, and Uxie were excellent users of the move. They weren't using it for its damage, but for its amazing momentum grabbing capabilities. Another amazing attribute of U-turn was that it brought its teammates in safely. This was incredible for Pokemon like Infernape, whose frailty prevented them from switching into very many attacks. With U-turn using teammates, this drawback was bypassed, allowing glass cannons to hit the field safely. Speaking of Infernape, U-turn made it even more difficult to counter, not just because it could maintain momentum easily, but because the move stung two of its best counters, Latias and Starmie, super effectively. U-turn allowing its trainer to pick their spots with precision was also effective for making the most out of slow wall breakers like Breloom, Dragonite, and Choice Band Tyranitar. Another strength of U-turn was that it facilitated trapping with ease. Sometimes Trapper could have a hard time switching directly into their targets, but with U-turn, luring those targets in and providing a safe switch, this was no longer an issue. Gengar could usually switch into Gliscor with ease and dissuade Scarf Tyranitar switch-ins with Substitute and Focus Blast. But if Gliscor caught Gengar on the switch with U-turn, it would be able to get Scarf Tar in for a free trap. A similar strategy was used to make up for Dugtrio's complete lack of bulk. U-turn Zapdos or Jirachi would lure in Pokemon like Tyranitar and Heatran and let Dugtrio come in for free, letting it pull the trap off reliably. This strategy was so powerful that it was a major reason for Dugtrio's eventual ban. All kinds of teams made use of U-turn, but fast-paced U-turn spam teams were particularly powerful. Pokemon like Scizor, Flygon, and Infernape teamed up to barrage the opponent with constant offensive pressure and switch advantage, being particularly devastating with Stealth Rock up. Now, speaking of rock rocks, U-turn was of course not without drawbacks. Switching around a lot with rocks up could wear one's team down. Plus, if one got too predictable with spamming U-turn over and over, eventually the opponent would catch on. Finally, choiced U-turns were utterly ruined by Protect. However, these weren't impossible to deal with. Starmie fit on fast offensive teams perfectly and reliably removed Stealth Rock. Plus, the constant blitz of U-turn pressure meant it was difficult for many teams to get up rocks in the first place. As for being predictable, that could go the other way as well. Flygon was all too happy to Earthquake a Jirachi that thought it would stay in on a U-turn. Finally, choice Pokemon didn't like Protect in general, but the great U-turn users weren't beholden to choice items and could in fact use U-turn to bluff a choice band set. If Heatran protected on an Infernape U-turn and thought it was safe to stay in, Infernape could revel in destroying it with a close combat on the following turn. Overall, U-turn was an absolutely amazing move, and it shaped and defined much of the Generation 4 OU metagame, as well as, well, every Gen 4 singles metagame really. U-turn continued to be excellent with the release of Generation 5. Scizor remained the monster, taking on the plethora of dragon types in the tier and maintaining momentum for its team. Several excellent new Pokemon received the move as well, most notably the Genies, with Landorus taking over Flygon's role. Hydreigon and Mienshao were great U-turners as well. However, U-turn was no longer the only offensive switch move. Black and White added a special electric type U-turn clone named Volt Switch. Now, it being electric type meant it could be blocked, since unlike ground types were immune to electric attacks. However, the best Volt Switch user was Rotom Wash, not just because it had plenty of defensive utility that gave it many opportunities to hit the field, but because its Stab Hydro Pump eviscerated ground types, especially in rain, meaning it was able to use Volt Switch without fear. Over time, players began lowering their Rotom speed IVs, so they would get the second Volt Switch off, as it was worth taking a hit so they could maintain switch advantage over their opponent. Rotom wasn't the only Volt Switcher though. In spite of its lack of stab and low special attack, Fortress made use of it as well, as it was terrific to maintain momentum against otherwise irritating switches. It was particularly effective alongside trappers on sand teams, as it loved giving Tyranitar a free switch to ruin spin blocking attempts from Jellicent and safely cut off Tentacruel's Rain Dish recovery, while on sun teams it could lure in Heatran and bring in Dugtrio for a free trap, making it an excellent facilitator for teammates like Venusaur and Volcarona. Funnily enough, the mighty Thundurus never used Volt Switch, largely owing to its Stealth Rock weakness, but also because once it hit the field, it could slam the entire metagame with its nasty plot boosted attacks, making spamming switch moves almost wasteful. It sure enjoyed being paired with U-turn users to make up for its lack of bulk though. U-turn was more punishable now with the prominence of Ferrothorn and its Iron Barbs, as well as the occasional Rocky Helmet on Skarmory, but it was still incredibly useful. Using it as a tool to safely get in threats had never been more useful, seeing as the metagame packed monsters like Terrakion, Garchomp, Excadrill, and Latios. Eventually, players started consciously pairing these two moves together, and as it turned out, they could be chained together to incredible effect. Now picture U-turn spam from Generation 4, but much harder to stop. The combination was called Volt Turn, and its poster duo was the combination of Scizor and Rotom. Scizor would U-turn out of physical walls like Skarmory and Gliscor, bringing Rotom Wash in, and Rotom could Volt Switch out of special walls like Celebi and Latias, bringing Scizor back in. Rinse and repeat. It was absolutely brutal, especially on offensive sand teams, who provided additional excellent U-turners in Landorus and Celebi, as well as the best rapid spinner in the game, Excadrill. Even after Excadrill was banned, Volt Turn kept going. Sand teams simply replaced Excadrill with Terrakion and relished the many free turns Volt Turn would provide it with to smash the opponent with banded close combat. Volt Turn wasn't just good on sand though, it was great on rain, especially with the reliable spinning of Rain Dish Tentacruel. It was also great on weatherless and even hail, and it was even great on sand stall teams, as Fortress, Celebi, Scarf Jirachi, and sometimes even Gliscor loved the easy positioning Volt Turn provided. Volt Turn, namely the Scizor-Rotom combination, was so ridiculously powerful in the second half of Black and White 1 that several top players genuinely wanted it banned or neutered in some way. They were completely at a loss on how to beat it without using it themselves. At first, Black and White 2 seemed to exacerbate this, as Genesect was the ultimate offensive Pokemon, and amongst its wide-ranging weaponry wasn't just Stab U-turn, but often a +1 Stab U-turn thanks to download. Plus, the Therians joined the fray as well, most notably Tornadus. In addition to its huge Alakazam and Scarf Tyranitar beating speed, it also had Regenerator. Now, U-turn on a Regenerator Pokemon Pokemon wasn't unheard of, since Mienshao was decent and had seen some use on Black and White 1's Sand Volturn teams. But with Tornadus' absurd speed, it was just too much, as it beat every good non-scarfed offensive Pokemon in OU, giving it a ton of opportunities, especially alongside other U-turners, such as that of Genesect, as this allowed it to outlast its counters with ease. Genesect and Tornadus Therian's U-turns were made even nastier by the fact that Dugtrio destroyed their few checks. On the bright side, Rough Skin Garchomp was now released and was unbanned, which helped a lot in curbing Volt-turn madness. With a Rocky Helmet attached, it punished U-turn hard, and then was immune to Volt Switch without being completely terrified of Rotom's Hydro Pump. However, this didn't stop U-turn from pushing several Pokemon over the edge. Genesect and Tornadus Therian were the first to go, but even Landorus Incarnate, who now boasted sheer force, was too powerful with U-turn. Only a few Pokemon could withstand its boosted Earth powers, Focus Blast, and Hidden Power Ices, namely Celebi and the Lati Twins, and Lando completely destroyed them with U-turn. Several players wondered if U-turn itself was the problem, since it was so powerful and so easy to spam for massive advantages. However, nothing came of it. Even as the metagame progressed and Scizor and Fortress became less and less popular, U-turn and Volt Switch always remained at the center of it. Scarf Landorus Therian became popular and loved to spam it, and Bulky Jirachi loved using it to ensure Ferrothorn wouldn't escape its teammate Magnezone. And of course, Rotom Wash was always excellent at sizing and maintaining momentum while providing free switch-ins for monstrous teammates like Banded Terrakion. Overall, U-turn and Volt Switch were astronomically important in the development of Generation 5. The 6th generation introduced yet another new switch move, Parting Shot, which did no damage but dropped the opponent's attack and special tech. However, it was only available on Pangoro, who was more of a lower tier Pokemon and was a big choice banded hitter that usually didn't even fit it into its moveset. Anyway, switch moves were huge once again in ORAS. Scizor got an upgrade in the form of a Mega, making the classic Volt-turn combo with Rotom Wash even better, while Landorus T and Tornadus T made triumphant returns as well. It was incredibly easy to have solid teams that had half or more of its members packing a switch move. The addition of the fog made it even easier to clear the field of hazards as well. However, Volturn's biggest use in Gen 6 wasn't slowly wearing the opponent down with repeated small hits. No, its primary purpose was now making it as easy as possible for powerful, nigh unwallable attackers to hit the field in spite of its defensive shortcomings, allowing its users to force unavoidable KOs on the opponent. The prime example was Mega Medicham, whose typing and bulk didn't let it safely switch into many Pokemon of its own merits. However, it was so strong that once it hit the field, something was almost surely going to drop, and that was easily facilitated with switch moves, allowing it to come in safely and grab a KO. This was the case for many other monstrous Megas like Heracross, Pinsir, Gardevoir, Diancie, Lopunny, and the Charizards as well. However, Megas were not the only major threats looking for a free turn and getting them from switch moves. There were plenty of non-Mega wall breakers who became incredibly difficult to deal with when they hit the field so effortlessly. The main one was Keldeo, but it was far from the only one. There was also Hoopa Unbound before it was banned, and Bisharp, Crawdon, Hydreigon, Kyurem Black, and more. Some players enjoyed Specs Thundurus, which could either wall break with strong moves to break past unsuspecting Clefable, or could maintain momentum with Volt Switch, depending on what the situation called for. Sometimes the Megas weren't even the abuser of the switch move support, but were the switch move support themselves. Usually Scizor, but Manectric as well. It was incredibly easy to fit switch moves on all kinds of teams, as they were usually associated with offense, but with the incredible defensive utility of Assault Vest Tornadus Therian, the increased popularity of Scarf Magnezone, and the all-around excellence of Scarf Landorus Therian, sometimes even on defensive Zapdos, they were easily fit on bulkier teams as well. Once again, switch moves played a major role in shaping the metagame. In fact, many players believe that without switch moves helping it switch in easily, Hoopa Unbound probably wouldn't have been banned. The switch move Pokemon that were great in Generation 6 were great once again in Generation 7, and Sun and Moon brought several great new switch move users as well. Tapu Koko was the most notable, as it got both moves, and could choose between spamming powerful Electric Surge and Choice Specs boosted Volt Switches, or using U-turn on utility sets that prevented annoying ground types, namely the HP Ice neutral Gastrodon, from blocking it. Magearna was also an excellent Volt Switch user, using it to maintain momentum for its team after it easily soaked up a big hit with its Assault Vest set. With Fluor Cannon and Ice Beam, no ground type short of Gastrodon wanted to switch into it, and Magearna sometimes ran Energy Ball just to ruin Gastrodon, ensuring it was always capable of Volt switching. Pheromosa was also a terrifying U-turner before it was banned. Gen 7 also brought a ton of ferocious threats, and as was tradition by this point, switch moves were excellent at getting those threats into prime position to rip the opposing team apart. It was all too easy to bring in Kartana, Tapu Lele, Mega Mawile, and others to smash a huge hole in the opposing team's defensive core, especially since in addition to hard hitters running around, there were also so many powerful Z moves making them even stronger. Teams tried their best to get their switch move users into position, because if they did, they usually managed to get their hard-hitting teammate in for free and thus grab a KO. Spamming switch moves became even easier in Ultra Sun and Moon, with the widespread distribution of Defog. And guess which Pokemon were the most notable Defoggers? The switch move users, of course. Landorus T, Rotom Wash, and of course Tornadus T. Another playstyle that became popular was Rain, and in addition to packing Z moves and Ash Greninja, one of the major reasons the style was good as opposed to how terrible it had been in Gen 7 was because the Rain setter was Pelipper as opposed to Politoed, and was one of the biggest reasons Pelipper was better than Politoed was, because it had, you guessed it, U-turn. This allowed it to safely get its frail rain-abusing teammates onto the field with ease, which Politoed had severely struggled with. Gen 7 was characterized by utterly monstrous power, and switch moves helped bring the most out of them. The 8th generation made spamming switch moves easier than ever. First of all, the addition of heavy duty boots meant hazards would no longer get in the way of allowing U-turn and Volt Switch to be spammed endlessly, as well as allowing for more users of the move that would otherwise be unviable, such as Rotom Heat. Plus, Gen 8 also added even more switch moves. Teleport became a negative priority pure switch move, meaning it allowed for absolutely free switch-ins for its teammates, especially in conjunction with the boots. It also helped that one of the Pokemon that received Teleport was already one of the best in the metagame, Clefable, who proceeded to completely take over the tier. It could use Teleport to safely pass wishes to its entire team, and as a result, breaking through it became incredibly difficult. Games were stalled to a snail's pace. It was just too easy for Clefable to offset any progression made with the Wish Teleport combination, especially with its team's heavy-duty boots, meaning hazards weren't a factor. Clefable isn't even the only Teleport Pokemon in OU. Slowbro is an excellent user of the move as well, making use of Regenerator to last throughout the game and get his teammates in safely repeatedly. The Wish Teleport craze died down with the release of Urshifu, whose Unseen Fist meant Protect was a liability on Clef, meaning Teleport on it died down, but switch moves as a whole certainly didn't. Slowbro continued to teleport, and Zeraora, Rillaboom, Cinderace, and many others continued to Volt Turn all over the place. And it didn't stop there though. Flip Turn, a weaker water-type U-turn, was added and exploded in popularity with the release of Crown Tundra. Stealth Rock Swampert saw a resurgence, being able to pivot its teammates in easily with the move, while Rain made great use of Flip Turn Barraskewda. At the time of this video, switch moves run as rampant as ever, especially in conjunction with heavy-duty boots. Pheromosa in particular loves not having to deal with Stealth Rock, as it weaves in and out of battle. Switch moves will surely continue to strongly affect the Gen 8 OU metagame, and unless incredibly drastic changes are made, it's hard to see that ever changing. So there you have it. Ever since U-turn appeared on the scene in Generation 4, switch moves have been one of the most defining characteristics of singles. And just think about how in this video we only covered OU. If we delved into other tiers, we would end up making several feature-length documentaries. There are certainly ways to deal with switch moves, but at the end of the day, they are incredibly popular because they are so strong and so easy to use. But they're still cool. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more wicked Pokemon content. And in the comments, I want to know, what do you think about switch moves? Would you want to change them? Would you want to add more? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this different type of move video. We'll probably do more move videos since the Stealth Rock video did so well. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.